Welcome to Lupo's Kitchen Podcast. That's right, we have a podcast. We didn't know either, so who knew? Well, today we're going to be giving some tips about food addiction. Now, both Lorelai and I are working towards getting to a healthy weight. We're not there yet, but we're pretty close. We're getting there. And the thing since we're brand new, let me explain some stuff. My partner is named Lorelai. She's the one you always see like the hands in the cooking. She doesn't like being on film, so you're mainly gonna be looking at me, but you'll hear her. So say hi there.
Hi.
Hey. So we are going to be giving you our tips on how we really figured out overeating and food addictions, and just kind of the science behind it too a little bit. First thing I'm going to get into is, if you guys don't know, I'm actually a chiropractor, and I'm like a hair's breadth away from my diplomate in clinical nutrition. So I've studied a lot of nutrition, and even though I know my nutrition and help patients out, I've gone up and down my weight for years, and not really done a great job as a clinician to keep my own weight in check. Now, I'm really muscular, so it's easy for me to kind of hide some of it, but it just got out of hand over the last few years. And since I stopped practicing full time, I just don't care. Like, I'm not watching my weight like I was.
It's hard.
It's tough. So, one of the things I had to come to terms with is it's very hard for me to give advice if I'm not walking the walk, right? But now we are walking the walk, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to share some things and you take it and leave it for what you think. It's even the point I'm trying to drive home is, even though I feel like I am the higher percentage of people that would know about good nutrition, I still didn't follow my own advice because of, I think, food addiction.
I think so. I think
And
that would be the number one reason. Like, there's no other. You know all the risks. You know what it does, exactly what it does. Like, you've seen the blood tests, and so you know.
and I've helped patients beat this. But for myself, once I'm out of that spotlight, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna start eating the stuff again.
Oh, potato chips.
So let me tell you a little about my journey, and maybe you can relate to this. I was the fat kid in elementary school. I lost weight in a growth spurt. And I still, what's funny is I look back in the 80s and I was considered a fat kid, but I look at the pictures
And you weren't.
and I'm not that fat compared to today. I would have been a pretty skinny kid.
You're actually, yeah.
But
it's crazy.
my friends all tease me as the fat kid because I had a big butt.
You were a little chubby. That was about it.
I had some love handles and a big butt, but I was still an athlete and like performing at very high levels. So it was, and I would go through stages where I would clean up my diet and I would lose weight. But back then, when you're young, you can just exercise more. That was always the answer.
Well,
like,
and when you
burn it off.
Go, and you played rugby, so it's not like you were this wasn't like, you didn't jog. It was.
Yeah, it was. We opened up. If you guys don't know what rugby is, it's like football without pads. But back in the 80s, the coaching was way different. It was real old school, like drill sergeant army. There was no accountability for coaches. So like, I love my coach, but he was brutally hard on us.
My swim team coach was insane. He was from the military.
Yeah, and they would come in and train you like little soldiers.
Yep.
And I remember, just like before we even practiced, we would do what's called a fun run, and it would be anywhere from 3 to 5 miles before we even started our sprints and practicing. Where now I would die if I ran 5 miles.
We did weight training for 30 minutes before you even got in the pool.
Yeah. Oh, Lorelai, what sport did you play?
I did swim team, diving, and lifeguarding.
Water polo.
And water polo a little bit, but
yeah.
So whereas you didn't really have a rugby team at your school and you kind of made one, we didn't. Girls don't play water polo. So we had a unisex team, and they basically just tried to drown us because how dare girls.
Yeah, that was back in the day.
Yeah, and there was like no repercussions. We had to wear like 8 or 9 suits because they'd tear them off of you. It wouldn't fly now, but it was the 80s, and that was legit. Like,
I mean, you want to play with the boys, they would punish
We were
you.
infringing on their territory, and they were trying to run us off. So, and that's just the way it was.
Legit. And they would, I imagine, try to get a free look at you and pull your bathing
Oh,
suit
yeah.
off and be like, "Oh, it's a sport. My bad. Came off. She shouldn't be playing with us." You know.
That did stop when it was all fun and games until the first game we played, and the other team stripped one of the girls' suits, and then it just turned into a underwater melee because only we can abuse our teammates. And
That's
you can't
right.
do it.
It's like your little brother. You can beat him up, and make fun of him, but anybody else, that's a problem.
And that is basically what it came down to. We had to take it for about 2 months straight. And then after that, they were pretty cool about it. Like there was only 3 of us left. It started out with like 12 girls trying to play water polo. Only 3 made it through. And after that, they just kind of left us alone. And if they did start getting out of hand, we just fought back. Guys don't like to have their suits ripped off either, apparently.
No, it's shocking. Yeah, and as a girl back then, you'd get away with murder.
Like, yeah.
You could totally pants them and be like, no problem. And you would never get in trouble.
It was an accident.
They wouldn't care. They would never consider punishing a girl for anything.
Not really.
You guys could get away with murder compared to what we would get punished for.
And it wasn't considered fighting. It was like, it's a sport, so it's all good, like.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We're way off topic here. But we both played sports. We were both athletes. And we both got fat later on. And that was tough because, I come from a degree where I'm supposed to know my nutrition, and I was an athlete, and I still got fat. And I went up and down and up and down and up and down. And man, I tried everything. Just like you guys probably listening. If you're listening to this, I'm sure you have done, let's see, what did I do? I did Weight Watchers. I did Jenny Craig back in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
I actually lost a good bit of weight with Jenny Craig, but it was so, everything's so packaged in salt and stuff. It's like 200 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams of salt a serving. It was ridiculous. I did, the big ones I lost weight on were Isogenics. Isogenics is like a nutrition program. It was like a multi-level marketing thing where you drank, you actually fasted 2 days a week, which is the only time I've ever seen a dieting program fast you. You'd fast and you'd take like a little amount. They would give you like this looked like a sugar cube. It was like a little disc of chocolate. And you would eat this thing just enough that it wouldn't spike your blood sugar, and you could kind of stay in fasting mode, but it would be like, because people whined and cried about not eating for 2 days.
And see, I grew up doing that, but never. But it never. The reason, my family were survivalists, so we would do fasting, but it was to prolong your supplies. So it never occurred to me to actually do it to lose weight as I got older. And I didn't have any weight problems. I would never went up or down. I had no weight issues until I got pregnant. And then just everything exploded after that and was not right. And then I just got bad medical advice after bad medical advice after bad medical advice.
Yeah, that's easy to do. And especially, you guys got to remember, we kind of grew up without internet. So it wasn't like we could just get on and double check what your doctors told you. Back then, you trusted
his word
the
was
doctors,
law, and that was that.
I mean, once in a while, you'd look at something and be like, oh.
Or you can get a second opinion, but.
Or you'd bring a magazine article into and be like, can we try this? No, that's crazy. Don't do that. The doctor would, they're in their little comfortable bubble. They would never allow you to actually control your stuff through a crazy vegan diet or something.
We never knew anything about I always assumed that a doctor would have nutrition education.
Yeah.
But they really don't.
Surprise, they don't. Especially back then, they had zero. Now, as a chiropractor, we did get it. We got public health and we got nutrition. But even then, it was still
pretty thin.
Like, we had to take a lot of seminars, but we were encouraged to. Like, a lot of chiropractors got into nutrition, and I had some great classes. So I did at least have more than the basics. But that was tougher because, again, I would lose weight. And anything I tried, I had super strong willpower and I could do it, but it would just come back on because I would slide back into my old eating habits. And I think what happened, and what really, it took me a long time to figure out, and I think we are on the right track now, finally, after stop and starts, because I got man, there's more to my story about going up and down in weight because for the last 20 years I've been battling getting really fat and then taking it off and 20,
Oh
on
yeah,
and off.
same.
And I got into fasting really hardcore. There was a year that I fasted every other day just to see. I was like, I'm not going to eat every other day, and then on the days I can eat, I'll eat what I want.
And it was really strange. It really didn't do
I
anything.
lost like 10 pounds the entire year. It didn't really do anything for weight loss, although I did feel better. My digestion was a little better. My skin looked a little better. But for the cost, it wasn't worth it. I only ate 100, 80 days of that year.
And it was probably because you were eating whatever you wanted on the off days.
Kinda, yeah. I wasn't being as strict as I should have. And you're also really hungry when you're coming off.
Well, and I would imagine that if you did it every other day but stayed on like a whole food, low fat, you would have done way better than results. Just like, oh, it's my off day, I'm eating chips.
Well, the logic is this. So for a guy like me and at my weight and my muscular, I can eat about 3,000 calories and maintain, which is pretty high. But
3,000 calories.
When I start losing weight, I start dropping more. So the idea was, okay, if I eat 3,000 calories a day and then I skip every other day,
you could.
But on my day I could eat, there's just no way I can get 6,000 calories in. I mean, well, maybe if I drank a bunch of oil or something, but it was hard. So by proxy, just the amount of, even if I overstuffed myself on junk, I was only getting 4,000 to 5,000 calories, which is less than 2 days. That was a lot.
Which is probably the 10-pound weight loss.
Right. So you do eventually get a little bit of a win. But
not really.
But if I had controlled myself to, but I just wasn't. I was taking off with fasting and I was seeing a result. And then I started doing long fasts, and I started dabbling with 2 days. Then it turned into 5 days. Then it turned into 7 days. And it turned into 2 weeks. And I did water fasting like nothing else. No supplements, no salt, nothing.
And you did that crazy fast.
And I finally got the courage. I worked up to a 42-day fast, which I had lost about 45 pounds doing, maybe 50 pounds. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Not a great way to lose weight.
Yeah, you did. You were pretty sick. It doesn't stay
on long. It was a brutal. To go 42 days without food is brutally hard, but it does let you correct a lot of gut
and I mean,
problems.
honestly, the average person couldn't do it.
No way.
You have to be able to not have a job.
Yeah, and you have to work up to it
because
too.
you slept a lot.
Yeah, an average person can do a week.
Yeah.
You can do. And actually, what's funny about really long fasting is the hardest part's the first 5 days. After I got into a zone, once I got into week 2, 3, 4, and 5, I wasn't hungry. I didn't even really think about food. I was busy, and you had crazy energy because you're just burning fat like mad. But then you'll get punched in the face every few days, and then it got really hard. I probably should have stopped, but I really wanted to get over 40 days, and it was just to see what it was like. It was supposed to be a spiritual journey, and I didn't feel any improvement in my spirituality, which is weird.
I think because you had so many gut problems.
Yeah, I had a really bad gut back then. We'll talk about how I fixed my gut in another episode, probably.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert, it was kombucha. Drank a lot of kombucha, and
we tried a lot of things over the last 3 years. We tried a lot of things.
Yeah. I just could never get my microbiome right, no matter how much stuff I loaded in there. It just wouldn't help. Okay, so we took this whole journey with me, so now you know me. Lorelai, her weight came on through pregnancy and her hormones going up and down and bad doctoring advice.
Yeah, so I never broke 100 pounds until after, it was probably, I think, 4 days before I gave birth. I finally broke 100 pounds. And I was fine. I gave birth. I didn't even spend the night in the hospital. Like, I went in the morning, had the baby, and by like 6 o'clock, I was at home having dinner. No problem at all. I mean, the hospital wasn't very impressed with me leaving, but I didn't see a reason to stay. I was fine. Everything went mellow. And then I had some problems and couldn't breastfeed. And I think that makes a big difference.
Oh, you burn crazy calories when you breastfeed.
Oh, yeah, because I was like, I couldn't eat enough and never put in on anything. And then something just went real sideways about 2 months after I gave birth, and I just started putting on weight. and I could not stop. And I wasn't eating like a huge amount. I had, cut my calories way back. I didn't really have an appetite because I wasn't breastfeeding anymore. And just, I don't know. You explained what happens. Like, there's a switch that goes on and off, and it just didn't, something went sideways, and I just gained weight. And I mean, I felt at the time that I was gaining like so much weight. In reality, it was like 40 pounds. But because I had never been overweight,
Yeah,
40
you're
pounds is
under
a
100
lot when you weigh
pounds.
100 pounds.
Right.
Like that's an extra half a person. And so I really felt awful. I felt awful about myself. I felt awful, like, and I physically felt like I was dying. My legs hurt, my knees were especially sore. I'd never, and I just didn't have the stamina that I used to. Like I could walk anywhere, and it took a long time. And it throughout the last like 25 years just kept going worse and worse until I went vegan, and then like all the inflammation dropped, all the weight came right off. And you saw when I do lose weight, it's like in big mass doses, just like all of a sudden.
Yeah. You hold your weight, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you're like 3 sizes lighter. I'm like, what the? She just changes overnight. It's crazy. This is kind of common. I'm gonna put my doctor hat on here for a minute and explain. With what Lorelai had, a lot of women, especially after their second child, um, it wrecks their thyroid, and it makes their thyroid go crazy, and you become very allergic to what you're eating. And we had a saying I worked in a functional medicine clinic where we did a lot of, blood work and help people out. And we would put them on pretty strict diets based on their blood work and stuff like that. And we had pretty good success. But there was a saying that a woman would be the three F's when she came in. She's over 40, she's fat, and she's female. There was this thing that there were these women that would come in right around when they hit their late 30s and 40s. They would come in with autoimmune issues. All of them would come in with autoimmune issues. And the worst ones we saw were the ladies that had multiple children. Around the second child, even if you're just doing like, you don't even get all the way through your pregnancy, but you have a second child, it turns your thyroid, it flips a switch in your thyroid. And it's just a little hard to explain, but you have two different kinds of immune systems. You have one that reacts immediately, like if you have an infection and or hurt, you get bit by a spider or something, and it swells up in 5 minutes. And then you have another type of immune system that is a low burn, where it is going to keep you from getting uh, problems in your body. It's destroying cancers. It's fighting bacteria that's floating around in there, and it's like a low burn immune system. It's not a quick reaction. The thing about this is you can't turn them both on at the same time. You can't. It's either one. You
One
either
or the
have
other.
a massive quick reaction or you have a slow reaction. So what happens during pregnancy is your body flip flops. So if you had a bunch of, like, the women especially, this would work. You'd see this with were the ones who had they would say they love being pregnant and they felt great. That was one kind that would have it, and that's because they usually had some sort of autoimmune issue that would shut off during pregnancy. Because pregnancy acts like, for a better term, it's almost like you have an infection, that your body shifts the immune system. um, and then what happens with the thyroid would, after they gave birth, would shift back really hard. And when that happens, this is when you have brain inflammation, a lot of mental stuff. You feel like you're just swelling up and you're having a lot of problems. And this is where you get the postpartum depression because of the swing in the thyroid. Thyroid really, if you don't know, thyroid controls your mood. And you talk about someone who turns into a different person after they have a baby, that's usually a big red flag that
I did, but it was with my first one.
the first. It can happen with the first. It's just a
It did.
lot
It
more
was
common
just,
with
and
the
it was,
second, and your chances go up the more and more you have.
it was so strange, and I didn't feel like myself, and I was sad, and they were like, oh yeah, postpartum depression, and and then you start. Back then, it wasn't so much the SSRIs, but later on, that's when they start pushing it.
Yeah, because they stick you on that for the mood stuff.
And they're like, oh, it's postpartum depression, but it wasn't.
Well, a normal MD, and now they're starting to figure it out, but 20 years ago, they didn't know that it would kick your immune system, and this was an actual thyroid issue.
Yeah.
The thing about the thyroid is if you eat a lot of meat, and especially dairy and wheat's another one. If you have a bad gut, what's called a leaky gut, where when you eat food, it's never supposed to go into your blood. It's supposed to get broke down into little tiny minerals and little pieces of sugar, and then it passes into the blood barrier. You're not supposed to have like chunks of food go into your blood. If you have a bad immune system and is ramped up, especially after pregnancy, your gut has holes in it, and this stuff leaks in, and your body recognizes it as a foreign particle. And a lot of wheat and chemicals on the wheat, and especially meat and dairy, create such an inflammatory response in your body. It does sometimes activate things to attack the thyroid. Sometimes they even say some gluten particles are similar to thyroid cells and they attack it. I'm not sure about that science, but it is a fact that something flares it up. So you probably became very allergic to dairy after your first.
I was very stressed out too, and I had ulcers.
And you're taking medication, which blows holes in your gut.
And throughout my teenage years, I not only did swimming, I did horseback riding, and there's a lot of injuries. So I was living off of ibuprofen, Tylenol, aspirin, whatever,
Yeah, and that stuff wrecks your gut lining.
And nobody knows it. They're like, oh no, it's safe. It's just Tylenol. It's just aspirin. But it eats a hole through your stomach. And I had chronic ulcers for years. I think I've had my first ulcer when I was 16.
And if you got ulcers in your stomach, which are basically
That's a
like
hole.
big holes, imagine your intestines. You can count on that they have lots of little micro holes.
Oh yeah, and I was severely allergic to dairy.
If someone's that, so your big deal was you're allergic to dairy. So Lorelai and me meet, and we've been friends for years and years, but I kept getting off dairy and slowly letting it slide back in, and then getting punished for it. Like I'd be like, just a little bit, because surprise, right? Milk powders and everything.
Oh yeah.
Milk powders and everything. So
I will say, becoming vegan has been the most difficult thing to navigate that I've ever experienced. Like, you have to be on guard all the time. It is like a war.
Yeah. Because stuff you trust, you'll go to the store the next week and they've changed the label, and now stuff I've been buying, I bought this peanut butter for 10 years. Oh, guess what? Now there's high fructose corn syrup in it, and now there's milk powder.
And everything has milk powder in it. Like, it would just never occur to me. Like, I told you for years, I was like, I don't even really eat that much dairy. It turns out that even if I ate no dairy, if I didn't buy cheese, milk, yogurt, anything, if I just never bought any of that, I would still be eating a lot of dairy because it's in everything, including your barbecue potato chips.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Why is milk powder in that?
It is in everything.
And so when I used to have the same issue when I talked to patients, it'd be like, you're eating some dairy, and they're like, no, I don't eat cheese, I don't drink milk much. I'm like, no, you're eating dairy, and they're like, oh, my Cheerios had dairy in it. Like you'd have to have them go through and scour it, and they'd be like, why is this milk powder in this?
And then you start seeing that it is in
it's
everything.
Like in everything. So if you got, because you're like, what does this have to do with addictive eating? I'm sorry we're getting to it, but this is a podcast. So we're going to talk like a podcast and take our time. Build the story up.
You did the podcast voice.
I did the podcast voice. If you're listening, welcome to This American Life. All right, so we did the podcast thing. We're getting there because Lorelai put on weight, and it was a lot of inflammation weight. And because dairy's hidden in everything, she was not actively going out and eating dairy, but it was affecting you big time.
It was, and when we met, I went vegan overnight.
And what happened?
It was just cold turkey. I would say in the first month, I probably dropped like 35 pounds. like
the
nothing.
Inflammation just came out of the
and
body.
It was just water.
That and your mood adjusted, you were able to sleep through the night. You hadn't slept through.
I was diagnosed with insomnia when I was 9 years old. I have never been able to sleep more than 4 hours in my entire life.
Yeah, and you can't lose weight if you don't sleep. Sorry, guys, you can't. You lose weight when you sleep.
Everybody that's out there, it's like, oh no, I'm just a night owl. Like I work graveyard shifts because you make more on graveyard shift, and I wasn't sleeping anyway, so why not? And it was crazy. And now, don't let my sleep get interrupted. I'm a different person.
And a lot of people don't realize how important sleep is to weight loss, like super important. And you just cannot lose weight if you don't sleep. You can't. If you're waking up every 2 hours.
Well, and here's the thing: when you have insomnia and you get
up till 3 in the morning, and
guess what you're doing?
Eating, probably.
You're eating, so your body never gets that chance to fast. They call it breakfast for a reason. Your body just never gets a break. And it's always coffee too. You drink so much coffee.
So you can imagine, maybe you're listening out here and being like, man, I don't sleep good. I can't sleep. You're going to have to learn to sleep. And the reason, I've never met a patient that didn't have any insomniac, and I mean all of them, had an inflamed brain.
Yep.
They were eating something. The way it works is if your gut has holes and that stuff leaks into your body, it also means that your other permeable barriers also have holes, like the barrier between your lungs and the barrier between your brain. So stuff starts leaking into your brain that's not ever supposed to be in your brain, which causes inflammation.
Which probably makes you feel pretty crazy.
And if it leaks into your lungs, guess what? You start getting asthma and having a hard time breathing. You get lung infections all the time and stuff like that. And it is because you're eating really offensive foods. Now, here's the thing. It's mainly dairy I used to see. Dairy is like the number one culprit. Wheat is up there if you have a leaky gut and you're eating American wheat that is sprayed with chemicals, Roundup and stuff. If you order your wheat from like Canada or you get it somewhere else, you're not going to usually have that effect. It is the chemicals on the wheat that's causing the problem for most people. And then the third one is meat. And you're like, well, why is meat inflammatory? Because people eat the paleo diet and lose a bunch of weight. Meat's very difficult for your body to break up. And some meats are really close to human. And for example, you can grow a kidney in a pig. Why do you think that works?
Heart valves. That's the number one.
Right?
All heart valves are pig valves.
Pigs are so close to human that if you're eating a bunch of pig and it leaks into your blood and you become allergic to the pig protein, what do you think happens to you basically
just became allergic to your own body.
And so there's probably a reason why a lot of religions stay away from pig. It's not just because they're uncloven animals and they're unfilthy and all that. It is a warning saying if you become allergic to pig, you're going to become allergic to yourself. And you're going to be, and this works with a lot of other meat too, because some people will be like, oh, I don't eat pork, I just eat chicken and stuff. But chicken has its own elements.
Well, when they came up with the only white meat is healthy. Remember, cut back the red meat, and the whole chicken industry made that big comeback. What happened right after that? Crohn's.
Yeah.
Everybody and their brother got Crohn's.
And bladder infections. There's a huge correlation to eating eggs and getting bladder infections. The bacteria that hangs out in eggs, with ladies especially, because the holes are so close to each other, they contaminate the urinal tract. And if you can get a patient to give up eggs, if they have chronic bladder infections.
That's the other thing. I had chronic bladder infections ever since I was a little kid. And eggs are the only meat I ever liked.
Yeah.
I've always ate a lot of them. I have always hated meat, so I've always eaten eggs.
And that's newer research. Like I'd never even heard that until about 10 years ago.
But I haven't had a bladder infection since we met.
Yeah. Just getting off there. So there's something to be said for that. We are all over the place. We're going to get to addictive eating now. So what happens is if you have an inflamed brain, which is super common if you eat an American diet, it can cause your hormones to go crazy, and it sends a lot of signals for addiction too. So there's a combination here. The inflamed brain is going to make you eat like an addict.
And you're never going to be satisfied, so you're always going to keep eating.
It's going to keep pushing it. The other big reason we see is parasites. Parasites will actually cause you to overeat to feed the parasite. It'll hijack your brain and make you.
Candida is notorious.
It'll make you eat when you're not hungry because the parasite wants more food. That's the big ones. And then I really think, and me and Lorelai really believe this is a major part of it, is I think there's something with seed oils, and it's never been proven. This is our conspiracy theory, but I'm almost 100% positive that they have figured out a way to make them way more addictive than they used to be.
Well, I think because they're not actually technically food. It was a waste product that they started using as food. And I think the processes that they use to separate the oil from the seed, I think there's something in there. There's the chemicals they use, or the actual oils, or
they add something.
All of it. I think or they add something. It is highly addictive.
And these food companies they spend billions of dollars figuring out how to make their food more addictive.
Well, it is like sugar. Like cane sugar and refined white sugar are two very different things. Now, I don't know the process they use. I know that white sugar in general isn't vegan because they run it through bone char, but I know there's other processes, the bleaching that they do to it. When I eat refined white sugar, I want sugar all night long. Like, I am never satisfied, and I will keep eating and keep eating and keep eating. But if I have something with cane sugar in it, I just don't really have the same reaction.
Yeah, it doesn't make you overeat. And like, we put maple on a lot of stuff, and we never have an issue with maple.
And they did all those studies,
like real maple, not the
not the high fructose corn syrup.
High fructose corn syrup mess.
But they did all those studies back in the day with heroin and sugar, and it's the same reaction in your brain. Like, some people actually react harder to the sugar than they do to heroin. Like, that's scary.
Yeah. And there's another chiropractor out there that runs a fasting clinic named Dr. Goldhammer. And I've respected his work from afar for a long time. And I remember we read his book in school. Or maybe it was right out of school. I can't quite remember. But I picked up his book somewhere along the way. And it was really interesting because they talked about how a lot of people will blame emotional eating on all their problems. They were abused as a child, or they use it as a self-defense mechanism. That's why they're fat now. And they convince themselves this is what it is.
I remember this one.
Right? But the issue is there are 3 species really overweight on this planet. Humans, cats and dogs. Now, our cat or dog and our dog did not get picked on in high school about their weight. They did not.
They didn't have a boyfriend breakup with
terrible divorce.
Or they didn't have parents that were mean.
They don't have the same emotional issues. And I mean, yeah, dogs get abused and stuff like that, but dogs are really good at getting over it quick. Like our cats. And I'm not gonna say but to say that my dog is putting on weight as a self-protection mechanism so other dogs won't hit on him.
Is a pretty strong reach.
It's a really strong reach. A simpler solution is that the food is so processed that it creates a chemical addiction to your dopamine centers that ring that bell over and over and make the dog overeat. That made a lot more sense because I was like, okay.
Well, and how many dogs have food aggression? Yeah. I wonder if that has something to do with it, because our dog has none.
That's true.
Like, you can put your hand in the bowl. She actually will take food out and give it to the cat.
So I'm just going to say that made a lot of sense to me as these other animals.
Like, if it was just people that were fat.
Yeah, if it was just people, then okay, maybe the emotional thing is.
And those are the 2 animals that live alongside us and eat our food with us. Like, dog food and cat food commercially is brand new. It's a brand new product. It hasn't been around that long. Like, my grandpa always thought we were hilarious for buying cat food and dog food.
Yeah, my grandpa thought it was a ripoff.
It's like, yeah, you're crazy.
Why are you wasting your money on dog food? But they've also made it so they've taken the same science for humans and made it addicted to your animals. So they love that. I mean, you give a cat what are the little treat things? The Friskies? Is that no?
Pounce.
The Pounce, those things.
Temptations and Pounce.
My cats would go crazy for that
Ours
stuff.
was Pounce. You rattle that container and they lose their mind, like rip your skin off.
Yeah, they just addicted the heck out of these animals. So even though I'm not going to completely dismiss emotional stuff, because there is boredom eating and emotional eating.
Boredom eating is probably
but it's not the same as addictive eating. And addictive eating acts like a drug, where it will make you.
It takes your reason out of it. It
will wake you up and make you eat. It will make you think about the next meal while you're eating this meal. I'll be eating a meal and be like, what am I eating next? You know, like,
yeah, there's been times satisfied. Where when we were eating oil, especially, that we would be eating a meal and I'd be like, what do you want to make? And little, like, what do we want for dessert right now? You know,
yeah.
And it's just like, we're eating. Why are you thinking about the next meal? Like, just sit and enjoy this one, but you can't.
You can't. And there's no such thing. I want to put this up. So if you're listening to this by audio, I'm putting some pictures up and I'll explain what they are. There's no such thing as like, for me, I cannot eat junk food, oily cookies or something like Oreos or something. If you put these in front of me, here's a picture I have of, it's called Glorios. It has a Klingon on it as a joke on Oreos. A cookie worthy of a warrior, it says. So like our daughter, I can give her an entire pack of Oreos and she'll eat one and put it away. And that thing will last like 3 weeks in a room and we'll have to throw out half of it because it went stale.
I found a package of cookies that she opened and just never finished like 6 months ago. Like, she just doesn't care.
Like, you made her a whole loaf of bread, banana bread, and she had like 3 slices and then throw the rest out. I was like, why doesn't she have the addictive eating? And it just takes a while because she's young and her gut's not trashed. You know, you have to create the inflammation brain, I think, as part of this step. And seed oils are like a bullet, a one-way ticket to make that happen. So I would say if we were to pick one thing to beat addiction, is to get rid of oils.
Oils are
all
a
the
trigger.
way. All the way. Get rid of oils. And you're going to be like, well, some oils are healthy and you need oils. No, you don't. When you're overweight, your body's going to make all the oil it needs.
Trust me.
You can make tons of cholesterol. You can make oils. You can make whatever you want
your
out
body
of
has
sugar.
enough fat on it that it doesn't need any extra help.
Yeah, that's kind of a rumor because people
that's
be
the
like,
other thing. You know, your body makes what it needs out of the food you eat. Like, we're actually probably pretty close to fruitarian. And like, that's what the human should eat the most of.
Well, there's a lot of bad science and a lot of bro science out there that's like, well, you'll develop neurological problems if you don't have healthy oils. And it's not true.
Well, no,
you have neurological problems because you have high amounts of inflammation that basically burned the
Have you ever talked to anybody that's been on
out.
a keto diet for very long? They complain about how much brain fog they have, and
yeah, and the constipation
and I mean, carbs are like brain power food. Like, when
it's
and I'm not talking about carbs like potato chips and bread. I'm talking about carbs like potatoes and rice and oatmeal and, you know, that kind of.
So here's what's going to happen. And here's what really has changed our life to where I think we have beat the food addiction, although we have to be aware of it and monitoring of it, because I will never stop eating or be satisfied if I start playing that game. If I start eating a bag of chips that has been cooked in vegetable oil, there is a signal that goes off in my brain that says eat the whole bag and then go find out. And your body, in a way, your brain is like, look, I need nutrients to be happy and healthy. So eat something. So you eat a bag of chips and it's like, nope, you didn't get it. Eat again because I didn't get these nutrients. I'm like, well, what else I got? I got pasta. There's nothing on it. I'll throw some diet cheese and some vegan cheese and all this, and I'll eat this luxurious thing and feel like crap. And then it'll be like, eat again. You didn't get it. You know, and it'll just keep telling you to eat again. You didn't get the nutrients. And it's like, even if you eat a big salad, it's too late. The brain's all inflamed and it's
crazy it's scrambled and the signal's crossed. And I've talked to so many vegans too that are like, you know, I tried, but you know, like, obviously it's healthier to be vegan.
I've got
a
meme for that. So
yeah,
we're pulling up a meme for you guys just on audio listening, and it's a guy riding a bike with a stick and it says, I'm going vegan. And then he's sticking the stick in his own tires, and it says, "I'm only going to do fasting and juice cleanse." And then he falls over on the ground. He's holding his knee, and it says, "Veganism is unhealthy." So like they'll go vegan and they just do like the craziest crap. Like I was doing, I was fasting
The fasting and
and juicing, and I I
Whereas
like
when
juicing,
I
but
first went vegan, when by the time we met and you had me go, we were eating potatoes
yeah, lots of
and like
vegetables, tons of stir fry.
tomato soup and tons of stir fry. We had
Yeah,
stir fry almost every
and we
day,
try to
and it
pick
was
up our
awesome.
raw fruit, and we try to pick up
Well, I never had
raw
a
fruit
problem
was
with fruit
dessert.
because I grew up on a farm, so I've always eaten a ton of raw fruits and veggies.
But my gut was so trashed that
yours
if I would eat
couldn't.
vegetables, I remember I couldn't eat onions without
There was a
farting to death.
yeah, there was a whole thing that we had to do where we just cut onions out, which was like killing
Which
me because
sucks.
like I live off onions. Like every dish I eat has onions in it, so that was really difficult.
But now I can eat massive amounts of onions or garlic and not have a problem. It took a long time because I could not eat beans without farting to death. I couldn't eat onions without farting to death.
And but the
It would
thing
give me
is,
horrible
as
gas
a
feeling.
kid, you were never fed any
But
fermented food, so you don't have a taste for it.
I don't like it. And
I mean, I
it
grew
took a
up
while.
eating pickles and sauerkraut and things like that, and I think all those things really help keep a healthy gut.
So I'm going to go back to the overeating because if you find yourself in the same boat where you eat and then you're immediately thinking what to eat next, and you try to tell yourself you eat good choices, but it's just a mass food conglomeration of, you know, if I was being honest with myself, there are some days I would go up to 5,000-6,000 calories of stuff.
Well,
If you eat a bag of chips,
and don't get me wrong, we were 100% vegan.
Yeah. Oh, let me explain that. I actually put on about 50 pounds being vegan, which is not supposed to happen. You're supposed to lose weight being
and
vegan.
Actually, I think we would have been better off had we been vegan for our health alone and had like selfish reasons. It's so much worse if you're vegan for a moral standpoint for the animals.
Like, you're just doing it for the animals, so I'm gonna have Oreos instead, or I'm gonna have
it's mac and cheese tonight.
And
like pizza and egg rolls and.
I guess I've been vegan about 7-8 years now. And when I first went, I was dabbling. I kept falling off the wagon, messed around, but they started coming out with all the good vegan junk food. Like I could go get Dia's cheese, and it tasted like cheese. Guilt-free. I could make a quesadilla.
No cows were hurt in the making of this cheese.
Yeah, so it was more for the animals. It wasn't as much. And I have all this health training, and I knew better. But I was like, oh, eventually I'll lose weight if I'm just eating too much. And I would try to eat less, which is a doomed prophecy because it's stacked with addictive chemicals. Yep. So that is like an alcoholic going to a bar and being like, I'm just going to drink less.
2 shots.
I'm only going to have 2. 3. And how well does that work for alcoholics to be like, I'm just going to cut back, or I'm going to quit cigarettes and just go down to a few a day. Like it never really goes well.
No, because in 2 weeks you're smoking a whole pack again.
When they're stressed out, and the same thing would happen with me in eating.
And you do the same justification. I'm just stressed right now, or I'm just tired, or it was just one day. It's just one package of cookies.
And so I started really locking down and becoming hardcore about my vegan eating. And during the last 2 years, the world went crazy. And we were concerned about food, and we had found this place that was selling vegan food for dirt cheap.
Like they would get Dia mac and cheese, which is about $4 or $5 a box.
$6 a box now.
And we were getting it for $1.
For $1. And sometimes 2 for $1. So we were getting all this
for like awesome, next to free.
And it was considered healthy. It'd be like Barbara's and all the name brands of
Annie's and
was there vegan stuff.
Laura Bar and
Laura Bars, all that. But we started eating that stuff because we were in a hurry. We were really busy building our homestead, and I didn't have time to cook all day, every day, and I didn't make it a priority. Honestly, I could have done it.
We could have done it. We just didn't make it a priority. And then,
but we were worried about the world blowing up.
Not just that, though. Once you start eating it, you get more tired. You have less energy.
It does wipe your energy out.
And how many times I was like, I just can't get up and cook today. I'm just too tired. And we're just like, let's just make some mac and cheese.
We'd wake up late, and the day would be half over, and then we go to bed early.
And like 5 o'clock would hit, and we were done. Like we were ready, like taking a nap.
Watching YouTube and stupid videos all night because you can't sleep after that. And so your whole sleep cycle gets screwed up and everything because that stuff's so inflammatory. And even the healthy brands, the Barbaras, the Annie's, if you turn it over, it's like 12 grams of fat, and it's safflower oil or
It's
sunflower
organic
oil.
sunflower
It's
oil.
organic sunflower oil. That's right.
So it's okay.
Or it's
And
avocado or olive oil, or a healthy oil. That stuff still does the same stuff to your brain.
Well,
It is still gonna.
still does the same thing where it stacks your blood cells and makes you sluggish.
So here's the
I
deal.
think the seed oils are actually poisonous.
The seed oils are 10 times worse. So let's talk about fat for a sec. You're going to be like, well, I can eat healthy fats. I can have avocado oil. I can have olive oil. If you're going to mess with oil, those are the better choices. But
just don't mess with oil.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. Understand this. There's two things that oil does to your blood, even if it is the good oil. It coins the blood. So the bloods look like little
pennies.
Lifesavers.
Yeah.
You know a roll of Lifesavers, or how they have the dip in the middle?
Yeah.
The little they're not like all round. They're kind of concave in the middle. They will clump together, and their surface area will become much less when there's oil in the blood. So you eat a bunch of oil, your body can't digest it, it leaks into the blood, and they clump together. When that happens, you can no longer take in the nutrition that's available. You can't take in the oxygen that's available, and you can't make ATP worth a darn.
Well, and oil's waterproof, so like it
holds on, and it takes hours. You can watch it under dark field microscopy, where like you can watch somebody eat an avocado, and their blood will clump up, or have whatever something with olive oil or something.
Yeah.
Their blood will clump up, and it will take 6 to 8 hours before it unclumps. But by that time, they've eaten it again.
Because they're so hungry. Because they didn't get the nutrition.
They had another stir fry with, this time sesame oil or whatever. And so they're always adding, and the blood just stays clumped. So even the good oil will clump your blood and make it so you cannot digest nutrients, and the oxygen doesn't come right. And this is the main cause of diabetes. And a lot of people do not get that. They will argue with you until they're blue in the face that the sugar is diabetes is about sugar. And if you eat sugar, and if that were true, you couldn't take diabetics, put them on all potato diet and watch them reverse, or put them on a rice diet and watch them reverse if it was about carbs. Oatmeal. So there is thousands and thousands of cases of people eating just carbs and reversing their diabetes. So it's not sugar. It is the crud you put on. It is the butter you put on the rice. It is the potatoes with the cheese and the bacon and that sour cream stuff. When you add the carbs with oil, it is like a bomb going off in your blood. And
it's the fat thing.
It keeps you from digesting anything right. So if you are overweight and you want to lose weight, you pretty much have to give up oil. You have to treat it like you're an alcoholic. All oil. Yes, all oil. Don't worry about it. You have plenty of fat in you. You're not going to have some sort of breakdown where you're like, I have to have this oil. No, you got to get the inflammation out.
You're never going to find oil anywhere in nature.
I mean, not pressed oil.
Yeah. There's never going to be a bottle or a puddle oil anywhere. And once you look at it that way, it's simple to realize that that can't be good for you. Now, if you feel like if you're healthy and thin already, you eat avocado, like whole foods, olives,
you eat nuts. We don't have a beef with that. But if you're overweight, you got no business eating any kind of oil or fatty stuff, even nuts, because nuts, there's different arguments about this. Some people will say nuts make you lose weight. Some say they don't. That they actually break down in your blood. They're going to have a much less reaction because they have the fiber with it, right?
Yeah.
We use flaxseed and grind them into eggs and stuff, and it causes no reactions. You can have some nuts ground, but if you eat that stuff every day, it will stall your weight loss. You can do it, hey, it's Thanksgiving, I want a richer mac and cheese, I'm going to make some cashew sauce. Okay, you can do it, but it's not going to really help you lose weight. Unless you're really, really heavy, you can lose weight. Like, you're 200 pounds over, you're going to lose weight eating that.
Or like if you...
But once you get to where you're starting to plateau, it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, when you're plateauing. Like, for me, when you first had me go vegan.
Yeah.
And the weight just fell off like it was nothing. And it didn't matter what I was eating.
Yeah, you could be eating nuts, you could be eating...
Because you were giving me grilled cheese and tomato soup still, like as an ease into, you don't have to give anything up. Just...
Yeah, let me be fair on that. If you're like, oh, I can't transition that hard, and I'm going to use the cheeses and I'm going to do that. Yes, you can, but remember my tale of my dabbling in grilled cheeses and my dabbling in quesadillas turned into 50 pounds later 2 years because I just didn't lock it down.
Now, if you have health issues and you
Or
need to lose
eating
weight,
chips.
then I would say, yeah, you need to cut it cold turkey.
And
that's what we did, and it took 4 days, and we felt awesome, comparatively.
So here's the big secret. If you're willing to make the sacrifice, start with all oils, especially seed oils, and you're gonna find out
that it's in every single thing you eat.
We have like dried blueberries, and they're still cooked in sunflower oil. Like they've been processed. Now they'll say
They're
zero
coated.
Fat.
It says 0 fat, so there's like some process that they use, but it's an ingredient in there. Why?
And if we eat too much of it, it will all of a sudden make me crazy about eating. I will just want to eat.
We had been off for 5 weeks, and it was our daughter's birthday, and we had dumplings.
The dumplings. Now we steam our dumplings and buy vegetable dumplings once in a while.
And they had we've eaten these for years. But because we went completely clean and cut all the oils out, I had a reaction. They have almost nothing in them to
But just
cause
a little bit.
It's just a tiny bit of sesame oil, and it just set me off. And I had a really bad stomachache for a day, and
yeah, and
there was repercussions, and I was
too.
just like, that's it, I'm out. No more. I'll make my own. And we've just gotten to the point where we are making our own of everything. I won't even buy like the vegan cheeses for the kid anymore. I will make it from scratch.
And it's tough because you have to make the sacrifice. People will be like, I don't have time. I can't cook. It's like, you know what?
It is actually really easy. If you have a pressure cooker, especially, or in a rice cooker, you can do this. It takes very little. It's just prep. You can peel a potato. Anybody can learn to do that.
Yeah, and there are hacks. Like if you check out our recipes, we have a kick butt cheese sauce recipe. If you're in the mood for cheese, we can show you how to do it.
We eat mac and cheese all the time.
And it doesn't have nuts in it. Doesn't have any of that. And you know what? You can have pasta. We eat pasta and lose weight.
There's tons of kinds of pasta.
As long as you don't get crazy with the oils and stuff. And we don't. We put like the cheese sauce. We put fat-free Italian dressing on it.
That's my favorite.
There's like
fat-free Italian dressing probably 3 times a day, but that's all vinegar.
Yeah, it's like 10 calories. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's nothing. So, and there are ways to do it. Now, can we eat pasta every single day and lose weight? Probably when we were really overweight, yes. But as we start to get closer to being thinner,
it needs to be like a once a week kind of thing.
It's harder. You got to have to add. So, way it goes is as you lose weight, it gets harder and harder to lose weight. You have to get cleaner with your eating, and you'll hit a plateau where you're like, man, I'm just not taking weight off anymore. That's because you're eating the same calories and fat as a fat person. And now your body's a lot smaller and you're thinner, and that doesn't work anymore. You have to adjust it and bring it down. And that usually happens by adding a bunch of non-starchy vegetables. That's when we shift over to the 50-50 plates. And you probably heard people talk about that, where half the meal is non-starchy vegetables and the half is, oil-free carbs.
And I have a way easier time with that than you did last time. Although you're much better now.
Yeah, I'm better because I can eat vegetables without dying.
Before, I was gonna say before it was.
We had to really cook the vegetables,
and it had to be like only certain and most
like only cauliflower and
most non-starchy vegetables are cruciferous, and those were the hardest ones on you. And
so I had to fix my gut. If you do have problems with gut issues, we'll talk about that. There are ways to fix it. And remember what I told you in the beginning. If you have leaky gut, you're going to have leaky brain, and you're going to have an inflamed brain, and it's going to make the addictions way worse. When you eat it, you're going to be like, I just cannot get full today. I don't know what is wrong with me. I'm eating.
It didn't matter what you ate. You were still always hungry.
Just mindless boredom eating. One bag of chips, and it's like, okay, I'm watching TV, and let me make some popcorn.
Even without the chips, when we were just eating,
popcorn.
We were eating 50-50 plates. It just wasn't ever enough.
Because we were still dabbling in oil.
It was that, and you had the candida problem, and it was making you constantly crave sugar.
Oh no, when we were really clean, it was still causing some problems that I had to get my yeast right.
And once we got your gut healed,
then it was a lot
fine,
better.
and you had no problems. A lot
stronger willpower. Like the urge sometimes comes and goes. Very rare now. Like I don't see a Kit Kat bar and be like, oh, I have to have that.
I will say the only thing I really crave now is smoothies, like the milkshakes. But that's
we've created hacks for all that stuff.
There's no sugar in it. It's just fruit.
So we have kind of a like, oh, here's another thing, right? We were using a lot of milks,
Yeah.
like almond milks, oat milks, and every one of those darn milks
The oat milk doesn't. The almond milk,
was
the
adding
rice
oil.
milk was
The
horrible.
rice milk had like soy oil in it, I think.
It
And
had sunflower oil, sunflower lectins, whatever that is, and
that stuff makes you overeat, and it's in the
and some of the
plant milks. It's
some
like,
of the
what?
rice milk had cottonseed oil. Like,
so we had to switch over to oat milk that didn't have any oil,
oat
and
milk
that
has
helped a
no
lot.
oil in it.
Even though it's fatter.
And I'm actually
but,
using a shelf stable one that has very little anything in it.
Yeah, and then we make our own sometimes too.
Yeah.
Which is the
That
healthiest
we really know
version,
that has
but
nothing in
we
it.
have not done that in a while. Well, we do. We invested in a nut milk machine.
The Nutrimilk.
The Nutrimilk. It's expensive, but if you add up for what you spend on milks, if you're using a lot, like especially if you're eating a lot of cereal or something, it saves. It pays for itself in a few months. So let's focus for a second. Get you back on track. Say, okay, you're like, Taryn, okay, I've always gone up and down my weight because I go back to addictive eating habits. How do I break them? The first thing you do, number one, is cut all oils out of your life, period. The other
and
thing,
that actually, after a couple days, that makes it so much easier.
You will
pay the price.
You will pay the price. You'll have addictions. It was hard the first few days. It's like coming off anything. Your brain's going to be screaming for you to go eat. But what you do is you replace it with healthy versions and eat as much as you want. So
I was going to say what we did was
anything on our page.
We didn't focus on cutting back our calories or anything.
No,
we ate whatever we wanted.
We pigged out on.
But it was on everything that had absolutely no fat in it. Like,
I figured out how to make tater tots fat free, and that was a hack that was hard to do, but it's awesome. And we ate a lot of. I think we pigged out on soups.
We did that tomato soup,
and
the tomato onion
soup, the sweet potato soup. We did some of the stuff like that. So what we did is we gave our body things that made it happy, and it was like, oh, this is good. I'm not missing anything. And after 4 or 5 days, all of a sudden the addiction stopped, and our bodies dropped weight like within 4 to 5 days, and then our, like you said, our energy levels went through the roof. I became so productive.
You started 2 new channels.
I was cranking out 12 hours of videos, and I still had energy. You know, it was nuts.
And before it was, we would get up at like 10, lay in bed until like 11, get up, do a little bit of work, and then like
watch TV,
we eat something, and then we would be like,
half the
I
day's
feel the
gone.
itis.
Yeah.
There's no point in even doing anything.
It's like half the day. We'll do it tomorrow. You know, like.
Or we would be out at the farm, and we would get up, get stuff done, but by 3 o'clock we were done, like, and exhausted.
Yeah. So, number one, cut all oils, and they're sneaky. They are in everything. They are in your plant milk. They are in blueberries. They are in everything. You're gonna have to. You can cook anything on our channel, you'll be fine. You can use anything on our channel, and if you go out and look at oil-free cooking, like what is it? Getting Healthy with Stacia. I like her channel a lot. They're good.
Chef AJ has.
Chef AJ. Chef AJ's hardcore, but her stuff works good.
Yep.
If you're having addicting eating, she's really got great advice too. I'm just telling you how we did it, and it was oil. And Lorelei also says processed sugars.
Processed sugars set me off. It messes my brain up.
If you can
it
cut
almost
those two,
has the same reaction as high fructose corn syrup.
So if you want sugar, go get maple. If you want sugar, get cane.
Cane sugar, if
there's something they put in the other stuff that makes you go crazy.
Yeah, that refined sugar is no good.
And what we did is we came off processed foods. And that means we didn't eat cereal out of a box. We didn't eat anything really. I mean, the only thing we had out of the box was pasta, and it would be one ingredient. It'll be like chickpea, made of chickpea. That's it.
Cassava pasta.
Cassava. We went with like weirder pastas that didn't hit the blood as hard. And then we'd pour like the cheese sauce recipe I make on it. We'd have mac and cheese, and it'd be fine. And we'd lose weight eating mac and cheese. And people are like, how are you losing weight eating mac and cheese? You can do it.
My favorite is the fat-free Italian dressing.
Yeah, that's your favorite.
I love that one.
We have a couple go-to hacks like that we go to. And within a month, now I don't weigh because it makes me upset. So I have a big frame, and my body loses weight, but it it gains muscle at the same time when I start eating well. So if I get on the scale, I will go down like 5 notches in my belt and I'll only lose 5 pounds because I've
And
gained muscle and I've lost fat, but it really irritates me looking at the scale.
and it's been 10 years since I've been on a scale. I have no idea what I weigh. I'm just not
So
interested.
we don't weigh, but if we had to guess, we're probably somewhere between 30 and 40 pounds because I'm getting on close to 4 notches on a belt. And I would say every notch is about 10 pounds, realistically.
And I went through, like, I have pants that were really uncomfortably, like, actually hurt my waist to wear tight, and they're fine now.
Yeah. And we had done this before. Like when we first got together and started hanging out, we got really strict and lost weight within 3 months. We dropped a lot of weight. And then life got really crazy during the last 2 years, read between the lines. We're not allowed to say it. But that thing happened, and we had to put all of our cooking aside and everything we were doing right and started using processed food meals.
And then it was a self-fulfilling prophecy of laziness and
fatter and fatter. It made us sicker and sicker and more addicted and addicted.
And too tired to cook.
So it's going to be very weird because if you eat oils, you'll be like, oh, I don't really eat oil. And it's like, yeah, you do.
It's like
you don't realize it's in everything.
Like even if you don't buy any dairy products at all, you still are getting tons of dairy. You just don't know it.
So combination of stuff. See, I think the oils are number one. If I eat those, I'm in trouble. It blows my brain up. It makes me eat. 2, again, is the dairy, which is, if you're new to this and you're like, oh, I don't eat dairy. Yes, you do. It's in everything. Trust me. Just eat the stuff on our channels. Find some recipes you like. Those are all safe. And just follow the ingredients. They're safe. Check the ingredients. You want to stay away from things that are real chemically, like high fructose corn syrup will make you eat your brains out. You will get crazy and swing. You want to know why children have so many behavioral problems now? Because they feed them soda and high fructose corn syrup all day, and it makes them insane. We used to take these kids off this stuff, like completely off, and their ADHD would go away. All their mental behavior would get way better, but you had to be really strict because if they had any sort of inflammatory oil, they were jumping off the walls and starting fights and causing problems and becoming a horrible child. And
I would say high fructose corn syrup and seed oils is probably the biggest poison out there. Like because like the seed oils really, or any oils, trigger you into overeating.
Oh yeah.
Seed oils actually make me feel like I've been poisoned. I feel sick to my stomach and lethargic, and I can't think clear. I just feel like I need to lay down. I really feel like I have eaten something poisonous.
And
that's crazy.
That is, your body's actually having the correct reaction of it is poison. It's basically trying to process it and then knocks your liver out. So you have to process it for a day and then you get it out.
Like people probably don't know, but seed oils are actually a byproduct. They were a waste product up until very recently, and they just started putting them in everything, and they're like, oh, why pay to dispose of this garbage? We'll just give it to Americans to eat.
Yeah, and you're talking about things like canola. If we haven't explained what seed oils are, like anything that
canola oil is not the healthiest oil.
Yeah, people think it's some sort of magic thing. Canola oil stands for Canadian oil. It is. They made a name up for rapeseed because they didn't want to call it rapeseed oil.
Because who's going to buy something called rapeseed?
Rapeseed just has a horrible name. Cotton oil. Why are we eating cotton oil? Cotton.
This is something your clothes are made out of, and
when would you ever eat cotton in the wild? You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. It's not a plant.
Corn oil. How do you press oil out of corn? Like, there's very little oil in corn. You have to do some major chemical process to get the oil out.
Now, sunflower seeds, you can do that. You can do a cold press on sunflower seeds. They don't. They do it chemically.
No.
And it's horribly poisonous. And sunflowers, in case you don't know, are used to clean soil.
Yeah, they are the
especially trash. In like radioactive places.
So if you didn't know this, sunflower is going to pick up whatever's in the soil. And since all the soils are so unhealthy now, because they're dumping chemicals everywhere, sunflower oil is a gamble. It's like eating a fish out of the sea where it has a bunch of mercury and chemicals.
They have to plant sunflowers everywhere to clean the soil up for anything else to grow.
Yeah.
And then what do? Like we have all these seeds. let's just feed them to people.
And you can buy it cheap and make it cheap, and so that's why it's in your food, because it's cheap to do. And so that's a big one. Safflower oil.
Safflower oil. I don't
Which
even
I
know
don't
what
even know what that is, but I know it's not normal. The better oils again, like peanut oil, olive oil, avocado. Not
coconut.
Not good for
They're
weight
not
loss.
good for weight loss, and they're probably not good for
They're
you
not really
separate.
good for your blood, but you know, it's a better. It's like smoking low tar cigarettes. You just don't smoke the cigarette, but they're like low tar cigarettes.
Yeah.
Look at them that way. And then the high tar cigarettes are the seed oils. Basically, anything you buy that says vegetable oil, just stay. It's
because it can be anything.
Gonna blow it up. Don't mess with it.
I swear they put vegetable on there to make
Don't eat
it
margarine.
Feel healthier. Like, this is just vegetables.
Yeah.
It's not.
You just got to stay away from this stuff. And when you do this, within a week, the addiction breaks, and now we feel great, and I don't have my brain waking me up to eat in the middle of the night.
And when you stop eating it, it's not just like energy boost. Your body starts burning all that fat you have already. And like, you're getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and doing things. Yeah, that's my deep sleep, level. So I don't get up then. But
I go to bed way earlier.
But you go to bed way earlier too.
I try to wake up like when I'm really at the homestead and eating well. I'm practically back to nature. I go to bed a little after sunset. And
yeah, by the time like we're ridiculous. Like
I'm like farmer hours.
8:30 at night. We're like, it's so late. We need to get to bed. Yeah, I'm tired. But we're also up with the sun.
We're up with the sun and we're breathing fresh air, and it's not, it's a way different environment out in the homestead. Right now, we are not in the homestead. We are at another house we have that we use as a pit stop, and it is not a good sleep. Like, we have forced air in the house, and it's.
It was great when it was cool and we had the windows open and everything, but now we have to use the air.
Wake up every night, congested and all that crud. I miss living in nature. Okay, so let's get through this again. One more time. You're going to go through your, get rid of all oils and treat it like you're an alcoholic. Alcoholics cannot dabble in alcohol.
So just get it out of the house. That's what we did.
I mean, it has to be that hardcore. You have to just, if you dabble in it at all, it will turn back into an addiction.
And change the way you think about it. These things are no longer food. You even had a hard time. We're preppers, so we store a lot of stuff. And there was a lot of stuff I made you just give away.
It was really tough because I'm like, hey, if the end of the world's happening, I'm going to eat this junk and not care. And it's like, the end of the world's happening. Even if we eat this junk,
you want to be sick while that's
going on? Be
and that's a high stress situation. And
make ourselves sick, and it's like, okay, we'll just grow more vegetables. Like that. That'll be our solution. And
I mean, we do have some stuff that's already packed away that is not good, but I do feel like that could be for barter food or animal
someone
food
else
or whatever.
Yeah. It's not going to be part of our life anymore.
It is no longer food to us.
I keep going back to the alcoholic example because that's what it is like. Alcoholics cannot dabble. You cannot go out and have just a little alcohol in a drink, just a little.
And we tried with the kid's birthday. We were like, okay, we'll try these dumplings. They should be fine. They've never, set us off in any way, shape, or form, anything at all. And I had a really bad reaction.
But does this mean dumplings are out of our life?
Absolutely not. I will just make
them.
We will
make our own. And what we do is, that's the solution. You do not have to give up anything. We have brownies.
Oh, I don't give up anything.
We have pancakes every other day. We have these things, and we lose weight eating them.
I've lost 3 sizes, and I drink 2 chocolate milkshakes every day.
Yeah.
It's just they're made out of bananas and cocoa powder and cherries. Yeah, it's a chocolate cherry milkshake I made.
And we lose weight eating this stuff, and it's healthy, and I feel good. But I can still have. You can have your chocolate shake. I can still have pancakes. We can.
And oat cakes with maple syrup.
Yeah, we can still have tacos. We can still have all the stuff I love. We just hack it and find a way to eat it, and a version of it. And hopefully, if you've been checking out our recipes, you'll find a few things in there that we really like, and make it your own. Change it around if you want. But
that's what we've done. We found other people that have done recipes, and we've just tweaked it to make it our own.
The way we like to eat in our spice profile. Is the weight loss fast? It depends on how strict you are about staying off processed food.
If you weren't vegan, and you found the channel and started eating like this, yes, the weight loss will be fast.
Yeah. But if you're just giving up oils and you're still eating dairy,
it's much slower.
And you're still eating inflammatory things, it's still going to have that addictive brain stuff. So you've kind of got to give it all up in one shot. If you're going to do it, just pull the Band-Aid and do it. And find a few recipes. We have a bunch, and like I said, there's many channels out there. Just look up like high carb, low fat, vegan, and you will find endless recipes.
Thousands of recipes.
Find like 5 recipes you really like and repeat over and over until you
And
get bored
batch
of them.
cook, so you just always have it on hand.
Yeah.
That is the key to success. Everybody says it, and
Yeah.
at first I was like, oh no,
No,
neither one of us have a standard job, so we have all the time in the world to cook. But there are times where, especially when we're homesteading or traveling back and forth, if you will always revert back to the easy thing. Like when I'm hungry right now.
Right now.
And if there's not something that I can just pull out of the fridge and eat, I'm gonna do what's quick. And that's gonna be, frozen oil soaked egg rolls. And yes. So we just don't have that in the house, and we always have food cooked and ready to go.
And that's a hard talk to have with yourself of this is an overeating addiction and you have to treat it as such, because kind of as an old school alpha male, I'm like, yeah, whatever, addiction for eating, give me a break. But it's true. It lights up the same brain center as drinking booze. It lights up the same as smoking a cigarette. It is probably worse. So
well,
it is
those things, you don't need
addiction.
those things to live, whereas you actually have to eat.
Yeah. And if you think about, we would go back and we watch a lot of black and white TV because I don't really like new TV much. There's a couple shows, but most of it's just too angry and violent. But we go back and we would watch Andy Griffith or Petticoat Junction or something in black and white, and we would watch what these people eat for breakfast. Remember that?
And they're by far not vegan, so some of it's gross to us, but
it's gross. But
like
the portions and
the
what
portion size, and so I'm thinking, like that chicken leg. Remember in Brady Bunch, he was eating like a chicken leg, which I never liked.
Yeah. So Alice fried everything in grease, right? And lard, but she used lard. Animal lard. So,
but the size of the chicken leg that grown man was eating for dinner was like a quarter of the size of the chicken legs now.
It was a drumstick that you guys would
so like, what have they done to these like roided out chickens?
You don't realize it because we've seen it happen so slowly that like a chicken leg is this huge thing now, where if you go back and watch the black and white, you're like, what's wrong with that chicken leg?
Our kid probably has never seen a small chicken leg like that.
Never.
That would be a wing.
That would be a wing. It was the size of a wing, legit. It was the size of a wing, and that was their dinner. Like we were watching Andy Griffith, and she was cooking a breakfast, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, Andy. You've already had 1 piece of toast. I don't think 2 is a good idea. You're gonna get fat." Like.
And they would just say it.
They would say
like, it. I remember watching I Love Lucy, and it was she was like, "What do you want for breakfast today, Ricky? Eggs or bacon? Not
one of the
not
other.
Bacon and eggs, and not eggs, or do you want bacon or sausage today, or both, or like what they have the meals at like Cracker Barrel come with sausage, or 2 kinds of sausage, bacon, ham, and grits and eggs and fried potatoes. Like, how much?
So I think the big reason we are so sick and unhealthy, obviously there's a lot of stuff into this formula. And as my life, as a person who spent many years studying higher education and nutrition, we can blame non-GMO stuff. You can blame pesticides being sprayed on everything. You can blame this stuff. But the biggest thing I noticed from when you watch a black and white TV show where everybody is skinny, and then they start getting fatter in the 90s and 2000, because even up to the 90s, they were pretty thin still. The 90s is when they started doing GMO food, but it switched to cooking vegetable oil and everything.
Vegetable oil, margarine.
Margarine came out, and
like through the 90s, I don't think I ever saw anybody buy butter. Butter was like ridiculously expensive,
lard.
And you could get a huge tub of it for 79 cents.
Now, don't get me wrong; they were still having heart attacks at 55 because they were eating everything fried in lard. Like, it's not healthy, but you weren't fat and obese like they are now, because I think it is a fight
Well,
a
and
fight to
there wasn't fast food either.
not eat junk. Now, yeah, people are going to be like, oh, well, kids are lazy. They went out and played. That's part of the formula. There wasn't fast food, but let's go back to this. What is every fast food cooked in? Vegetable oil. When McDonald's first came out, they used lard, then they switched to vegetable oil. And in the 90s, when that happened, everybody started getting fat.
Well, and then everything is so highly processed. You don't even know what's in those chicken nuggets. You don't know what's in those beef patties. You don't know. It's so a little thing about that 100% all American beef that McDonald's advertises, that just means the beef they put in there. That doesn't mean the whole patty is 100% American beef.
Oh. Yeah.
It just means that whatever beef they put in there is 100% American beef. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean it's clean.
No. And I mean, I'm guilty. I ate fast food for a little bit. I haven't had it in
was a Burger King
many
manager.
years. Yeah, you worked in fast food. So I'm not blaming you or pointing fingers, but if you're here, you're wanting to know that, because you wouldn't be listening to this for an hour if you didn't have some sort of over addictive eating habits. And I am telling you, we changed from having smaller portions in the 70s and 80s to eating bigger portions. And by 2000, we were having gigantic portions like it was normal. And it was all cooked in oil and fried.
I think, because it's gigantic portions of meat, and everything has extra cheese on it.
Extra cheese, and everything's fried in meat, like fried or has
it's all deep fried
oil in it. Like, the meat, it has a lot of oil. When you cook it, it's fatty.
Everything's, even your stir fry is stir fried in oil. It's everything, and it's just gotten really bad.
So it's a combination of, yes, the fatty foods became more available, but the real thing is all the fatty foods are fried in oil. So you're eating fried oil a lot more often.
And now, what is branded as health food still has 60 grams of oil in it.
It just has organic sunflower oil,
Yeah,
but it still has oil in it. And I am a living testament of, I shouldn't have gotten fat eating barbas. And I always joke with my patients, and I say this to myself. They're like, yeah, but I don't have diabetes because I eat organic and gluten-free. And I'm like, no, you enjoy your organic gluten-free diabetes. It's like you can eat all this health food. You can still have diabetes.
We had a friend that was diagnosed with, what was it, like MS, or she was already diabetic, and they were like, yeah, you're, you have MS now and everything. And she was just like, but I eat all organic, so you have organic MS.
Yeah, I mean, you're still eating the inflammatory foods. You can have organic seed oil, and it's still seed oil. So I believe that is the biggest contributor to weight gain, because it makes you overeat. Because even if, let's rewind for a sec. Say I'm a kid and I'm in the 70s and I'm at McDonald's and I'm eating. The food triggers in the brain were not the same, where I wouldn't have 4 Big Macs or 3 Big Macs and a bunch of sides of stuff and, Big Mac for later, Big Mac. That just didn't happen. It was later, when they started cooking everything in oils, that our appetites got much bigger.
And then they started making
2 burgers.
And also, there was nothing,
a gigantic
supersize didn't
fry.
exist.
Yeah, but
they had small, medium, and large, and the large back when McDonald's opened was almost the same size as a medium. It was a little bit smaller than a medium French fry.
And what I'm trying to tell you is that changed because I physically could not eat those supersized meals unless they were cooked in vegetable oil. And then my brain was like, ooh, I can just keep eating these, and what's next? I'm going to get a hot apple pie next, too.
And ice cream cone.
Onion rings.
That's not really anything.
Yeah, and so there was a trigger, and it was sneaky, and it's quietly done. And now these poor kids don't have a chance unless you help your children navigate through this minefield, because they stick oil in everything.
And I think the number one way they got kids hooked on it,
granola bar. Cereal or granola bars.
I think breakfast cereal was the way they got it in, because every single box of cereal we looked at, even the healthy stuff, is loaded.
And like I said, even when you're buying healthy milk, like, you're having milk with oil, with cereal with oil, like there's these hidden oils in there. And I don't remember in the 90s Cheerios having oil.
No.
I don't remember. They would have never wasted the money to put oil into these things.
No, it was subsidized at some point.
It was something where the government's just like, here, you can take this for free practically. We can't, like you said, I think is kind of like what they did with fluoride or whatever, where it was an industrial byproduct.
It was, because Crisco was not a food company. Crisco is a candle making company.
Yeah, they probably made some sort of backroom deal where they're like, we will subsidize and practically give this away to you. And
just so we don't have to
dispose of it and start, but we'll call it food grade, so you can put it in food.
So we'll clean up the equipment a little bit, and now it's food grade.
Yeah, and we'll probably process it to make it incredibly addictive. So you put it in there to addict people to your food and be like, oh, you have these granola bars that are healthy. Well, we can make people buy more of them by adding just a little bit of this addictive oil. And I think that's what happened.
I kind of think it did too. Our food has been used as a weapon against us for so long.
That's bad. So,
I mean, a lot of the food, like people don't realize it, but so much food that's legal in America is illegal in other countries. Like, it's against the law for stores to sell so many things that are considered health food here.
That's completely legit. And if you notice, Europeans all made fun of fat Americans because they weren't getting fat, and Asians weren't getting fat, Asian countries. But
until now,
we got our
the last
cruddy
few
food
years,
in there, and they're just as addicted. Like, look what happened to the Middle East, man. Oh my God! Like Dubai, they got so fat.
I was gonna say,
Saudi
how do you
Arabia,
have fat Indians that
Indians were always skinny.
Because they're like starving.
Well, they ate also very clean diets, and
it was very clean.
Also, remember, oil was really expensive. It got cheap and subsidized, and then everybody started using it.
And now everything in India is
fried. They wouldn't
swimming in oil.
And now they're just as fat, and they're eating paneer and
also
dairy.
They put dairy on everything. They started putting cheese on everything.
They put yogurt on everything. I mean, I spent some time in India, and I was like, can I get something without yogurt? It's like, stop. And so I think that's what happened. But I would think the number one thing, again, is I think seed oils. But you got to kind of pull the Band-Aid and get rid of all these things to take the addiction completely out, because we don't have those cravings at all now.
No, not at all.
I don't look at something and I'm like, oh, I gotta have that.
The only thing that I do still get cravings, but I get my chocolate milkshake cravings really bad, and I stopped listening to myself because I'm like, no, the last thing you need, you're trying to lose weight, is a chocolate milkshake, because my brain still reverts back to the old thinking where it's not actually a chocolate milkshake. This isn't something I got at McDonald's or Dairy Queen. This is something I made at home, and I know exactly what's going in it. It's 4 cherries, it's a banana and a half, and some cocoa powder, and a little splash of vanilla.
And it's delicious, by the way. We should make a recipe on that one. It's really good. It's quite good. So I hope you learned something today. We are gonna, if you enjoy these podcasts, please leave like a comment and a like. And we are taking a stab in the dark because a lot of people ask us about our weight loss and how we're doing it, and they're always interested in. This is something that I've had a real problem, and I'm being really open and raw with you guys.
I'm going to say we've had a lot of experience in it. We're of an age that we've both gone through different journeys, and we both had completely opposite upbringings.
Yeah.
So, and ended up in the same problem.
And if you're in that same problem, and just statistically speaking, you have to be like a superstar not to get sucked into it in America, because the diet's so bad here. The food is so poisoned here. It's like a full-time job to eat healthy stuff. And you have to make it a priority in your life. That's the other thing. People are like, oh, I don't have time. And it's like, well, then keep being sick. Keep getting fatter.
Well, and
you got to make time, and you got to make priority. And there's ways to do it. You don't have to look at your phone for 2 hours a day and scroll through YouTube and Facebook. I know you do. You might be like, oh, I'm going to just check my email for 2 minutes.
I mean,
and then you're on there for 2 hours.
I do it all the time, but I do it while I'm cooking. I do it while I'm stirring the pasta. I do it while
I would watch stupid
I watch
YouTube videos.
Now I turn the video on my phone while I'm peeling potatoes or.
Right. So you can do it. You have time. You don't realize it, but you do.
And honestly, you just have to do it.
And you got to get your kids involved in it too. Like if that's.
I was going to say the other thing is.
Kids can peel potatoes. The kids can cook.
We have a meme about kids. The starter pack of I think it's cruel and unusual to make my kid go vegan kind of thing, but it's perfectly fine to feed them McDonald's every day.
Oh, I forgot to put this up. This was my starter one of.
Oh, yeah.
Temptation. And if you guys are just listening and not seeing this, Vegan junk food is what put all my weight on, and it is I am convinced it is the seed oils that made me overeat. And the vegan junk food is a picture of a woman bent over wearing some scantily clad clothes, and it labels her.
And it's him as a monk praying.
It labels her as vegan junk food, and then there's a priest looking away, trying to hold his composure and not take the bait.
Eat whole foods.
Me trying to eat a whole food vegan diet. And it is so true. The vegan food is so tempting.
Every time we walk through, and I swear, as soon as we went clean and quit eating, every single coupon I got from Food Lion, Publix, anywhere we shop, it's
like, go? Come get our ice cream.
Come and get this vegan. Now it's buy one, get one free. It's buy one, get two free. It's,
Because one of the things that kept us clean was it was too expensive to go out. You buy a little vegan ice cream that's made out of cashews is $6 for a small little pint.
Very inexpensive over the last couple of years. Everything became way more affordable.
Yeah.
And we had way more selection. All the stores started carrying this stuff, and it was a nightmare for us.
It was a trap.
It was the death trap.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the podcast and got something out of it. And if you want some help with this, let me put this up here. Look at this. Look at this. Come to our Telegram group. Join our Telegram. That's what that little thing in the there's a little blue picture of a paper airplane. That is the Telegram. If you don't know what Telegram is, it's a free app. It's like a messaging app, but all of us hang out in there, most of my friends. But we are available for questions about eating and diets and stuff like that.
And I have no problem answering questions or giving tips.
We share all of our good stuff. You'll find the link in the description. You just have to join that. And there's like a little CAPTCHA to keep robots. We have spam robots that try to surf in. So you have to it'll like introduce you, and then it'll have a little thing that says, click here to say you're human. And you click it and you solve a little CAPTCHA, and then you're in. Sometimes it's broken and you have to do it twice, but most of the time you're getting right in. And if you do that, then like I said, you have access to us and it's free. We just hang out and chill and share recipes in there that we don't sometimes share. So hopefully that helped you. And do you have any last parting words on this topic? Because we'll probably tackle this one again a bunch.
I would say the hardest thing and the first step you need to get through is just doing it, just starting. Make a big batch of something, like a few things to eat, because for 4 days you're probably going to feel kind of crappy, a little tired and run down, and you're not going to want to cook. So just have it done, do it, stick on it, and in 4 days you're going to bounce back quick.
Make something you really like. Because
you start burning that fat and you get those crazy energy bursts. Remember, we were waking up in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, it's like, let's work.
Like, boing, wide awake.
So also try to pick some meals you really like, and don't necessarily, like, if you want to use some nuts in it, you can and stuff like that. But it's best to just go cold turkey and
just go cold turkey.
But if it's going to keep you from doing it, then slide into just letting that stuff go. All right, we love you. Hang in there, be good to each other, and we will see you on the next podcast. Thank you for staying with us this long. And feel free to share this with people, by the way, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, somebody you know has probably got a long drive or working out at the gym or something like that. Share this out because we're brand new and nobody knows about us. So thank you. Bye.